before. We had her on in advance of her fight with Ronda Rousey, and this weekend she's fighting in the co-main event, UFC on Fox from Orlando against Liz Carmouche. Miesha, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. How are you?
We're good, and we want to bring you in on a conversation that we were just having. Have you heard of this team mixed martial arts? There's a video circulating that we have seen, Team MMA, where it's 5 guys against 5 guys, and it really seems like sanctioned chaos. Have you seen this Team MMA?
I have, actually, the other day on Facebook, and I was really surprised. I was like, whoa, this is crazy.
And do you endorse that, or do you look at that and say that's ridiculous?
Well, I mean, it was kind of entertaining. I'm not going to lie, to, watch it. I was really curious what was going to happen, and I was like, oh, no, it's 5 guys on 1 guy. Stop it, you know?
Well, how bad do you feel for the last guy who, when it's 5 on 1, and he's just getting stomped in the end?
I know. I'd be like, dude, I was the last one out there. Where were you? The rest of my team, you know? What the hell happened? You guys left me hanging.
It really seems like the point is the only way.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it really seems like the point is the only way that you could win, you can't be the first guy eliminated because then it's all over.
Right.
So Miesha Tate is fighting Liz Carmouche this Saturday night, Orlando, 8 p.m. Now, I know Liz Carmouche was supposed to. I think she actually did fight Ronda Rousey. So is it one of those? It was one of those cases where the enemy of my enemy is my friend going into this fight Saturday night.
I think it's funny. Yeah, I get along with Liz really well. It's definitely a change of pace. She's super nice and respectful, and it's nice, actually. I'm really enjoying this, the whole lead up to this fight and the training camp. It's definitely a whole other ballgame.
Does that change, your rage going into the fight, being that you kind of get along with her and it's not all the controversy that you had to deal with Ronda Rousey?
I actually prefer it that way. I actually prefer to fight people that I get along with because, to me, anger doesn't motivate me to do better when I'm fighting, because it's just for me, it's compared to playing tennis. If you were super angry before a tennis match, is it going to make you play tennis better? Not really, you know. And the same thing with fighting, because I don't feel like I use anger well to compete.
We had you on. We had Miesha Tate on right before The Ultimate Fighter, where you were leading up to your fight with Ronda Rousey. And I watch the show all the time. I love the show. And I thought you came off great on the show. I thought Ronda came off very poor on the show. And Joy, my co-host here, you've been adamant. You didn't love Ronda's behavior afterward.
No, I hated the way that she handled the fight after you two fought, and just I thought her whole attitude towards everything really kind of painted her like a villain, which I think that she kind of likes. But there comes a point where, especially with fighting, because it's so violent, and I would imagine you probably agree with me that there's a certain level of respect that you have to have for somebody that you're pounding each other's face in after the fight. Have a little humanity, you know?
Yeah, exactly, and that was why I extended the offer to shake her hand, was because at that point, that was the most respect that I would have for her at any point in our lives. And, it was just a way of saying athlete to athlete, I respect what you do inside the cage.
Right.
And she didn't want to accept that, but that's fine, It's not smart on her part because, like you said, it's the real her, but she just shouldn't care what anybody thinks, I guess. So, there's people that play parts in MMA that kind of play the villain, so to speak, like Chael Sonnen and even Michael Bisping, kind of play the villain a little bit. But once the fight's done, even the rivalries that they've created or whatnot, they still give respect to the other opponent, win or lose. And that's smart to do, but whatever. She's not that way. It's not playing a part. I guess that's why.
So basically, what you're summing up and saying is that Ronda Rousey is not really going to be getting any marketing money at Disney World or handling small children or smiling. That girl wakes up upset. What's her problem? What's her deal? She eats cereal upset. Never smiling, that lady.
No, she's just not. She's sour pants.
Not a happy girl.
Let me ask you this, Miesha, because look, I don't want to harp on Ronda Rousey. I'd much rather talk about you and the fight you have coming up this weekend. But Joe Rogan, okay, who we've had on the show before, we like Joe Rogan a lot. Joe Rogan on ESPN the other day, he made the point, and because Ronda Rousey's the bantamweight champion, he made the point that if Ronda Rousey fought Floyd Mayweather, okay, in an MMA fight, that she would win the fight. So not necessarily from Ronda Rousey's perspective, but can a champion women's MMA fighter beat someone like Floyd Mayweather with MMA rules, you think?
Actually, I do. And I think that's just because Floyd Mayweather would have absolutely no idea how to defend any submissions whatsoever, you know, taking into account that he's never done any kind of grappling. And it's not that, I mean, I've submitted 200-plus pound men, you know, I mean, that were not trying to be submitted because they just didn't know what they were doing. And, you know, Hoist Gracie, I mean, he fought some of the best and the biggest guys back in the day that were much stronger than him and much better strikers, even including I can't remember his name, but a really good boxer. And he the boxer has a puncher's chance until they hit the ground, you know, and that's it. You know, if I think if Ronda just went in with her hands high and ran forward, closed the distance quickly, boxers aren't used to that kind of timing. And if it hit the ground, you know, absolutely, I 100% think that she'd be able to submit him, and I think I'd be able to do the same.
Do you find, like, when you're out in different places that people just try to, you know, antagonize you or try to get you to do something like submit them or get you to fight them ever? Especially, mainly because you're a woman. Like, I wouldn't think most guys get approached like that, but a woman, I'd be curious to find that out.
I get people that joke around about it, but I just tell them, you know, I don't fight for free anymore.
Yeah.
What actually made you make that decision as growing up as a girl that I wanted to be a professional fighter? Was it something that you were heavily involved in? Did you have a brother that was into fighting? What made you make that decision?
Totally random, actually. I grew up as the oldest in my household, as far as my siblings go, so I didn't have any older brothers, but I did have a lot of friends that were boys growing up, and I always just had more common interests with males, you know, being athletic and enjoying sports and things like that, and always was competitive. And then I started wrestling when I was in high school just because I can't play basketball at all, and I had no interest in playing basketball. I suck at it, to be honest. So out of default, I went out for wrestling because it was the only other thing offered, and was the only girl on the team consistently for the 4 years that I went to high school. And then I found MMA in college, and I just originally started it because I wanted to learn jiu-jitsu, which is kind of an add-on to wrestling. I didn't think I'd want to fight at all. Mm-hmm. But I didn't also know what fighting was, never heard of the UFC. I was only 19 at that time, and that was in, 2005? So I was still relatively uneducated. And then I saw my first MMA event, and then I got inspired, and one thing led to another.
Cool. Do you do anything weird to prepare for fights? Because I know fighters have all these superstitions and things that they do before they fight.
No, I don't do anything weird. I just, you know, I do the normal cut weight and whatnot, and dream about all the tasty food that I'm going to be able to eat after the fight. You know, that's about it. I mean, that always happens. I'll be in the hot tub, like, I do a salt bath, you know, so I put Epsom salt in the really, really hot water. And
you're fantasizing about you're fantasizing about food you're eventually going to get to eat.
Yes, that's typical. But I think every fighter probably does that.
All right, well, Miesha, good luck this weekend. Saturday night UFC on Fox against Liz Carmouche. Listen, this is a Miesha Tate radio show. We're rooting for you, all right?
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks, Miesha. So that's Miesha Tate right there, UFC on Fox. I love how they do the free fights there, UFC on Fox. That's 8 p.m. from Orlando. You know, she mentioned there, if we had more time with her, I would have asked her about it. We had to let her go. She has other things she's got to do. But when she mentions there the cutting weight, like, do you ever see some of that, Romberg, how these fighters have to cut weight with the salt baths? And
oh, yeah.
I mean, like, I'm watching on the Ultimate Fighter television show, and these, it looks like hell. It looks like hell what they have to go through to cut weight. Like, they're cutting weight. I mean, Tobin, you would know better than me. They're cutting, say, like 15 pounds in a day, which
sometime. I mean, it depends if they do it right or not. Yeah. Like, if a guy is training correctly, he should maybe be dropping 5 pounds in the span of 2 days.
15 pounds.
But like on their show,
right. I mean, listen, Zazzle's right. Like, it's happened in a case where people have tried to do that. It's very unhealthy.
Like on their show where Miesha and Ronda were the coaches, they each lost